let's take a look on how we can add JavaScript to our website. So you're probably going to have an index.html. All right, this is your HTML code. Now we're going to keep this simple. We're not going to go too much into HTML and CSS, only once we get to the projects. But let's just generate one. You can do that by just holding Shift and 1. That's going to give you an exclamation, and then hit Tab. And it's kind of just going to generate you a empty template here. Okay, so normally you would add your CSS if you want up here. Okay, so you would say link, style, and you would create a CSS file, and everything should be good. Okay, so where do we do JavaScript? Well, one way we can do it is adding a script tag in here, like this. We can write script and hit tab. And before we get going writing any JavaScript in here, let's just open this up with Live Server. So I can right click up here and hit Open Live Server. Da-da-da-da, Firefox has opened, everybody. Okay, so to actually kind of visualize something here on the screen, I'm just gonna do one code here, and you can follow along. You don't need to understand anything yet, so don't worry about this. We can just say alert, like this, alert, if I can spell correctly, and then we can just say, add some quotes, and we can say, hey. All right, you can also do double quotes. And then at the end, we're gonna do a semicolon. Don't worry about what this code does and how we wrote it. We're gonna get into it more, but just hit save. And now if we take a look here, we're gonna get a pop-up saying, hey, what you doing? It doesn't say what you doing, but you get the point. Okay, so there we go. That's one way of writing it. I don't recommend writing it like this. And the reason why is if you have a lot of HTML code, you also have a lot of JavaScript code, this is gonna look all messy, and nobody likes messy code. So what we do is we kind of do the same thing like we do with CSS, right? With CSS, we can also write CSS in our HTML code, but we don't do it. We separate it in a new file. So the same thing we can do to JavaScript. So rather than doing like this, we can go right here at the end of the body, and we can just say script, and we can just add a src attribute in here. Okay, and now we can just create a new file. We can name this whatever we want. Let's just name this app.js. Okay, perfect. And now we can just go back here, and we can just say /app.js. There we go. Hit save, control save, and we can do the same thing here now. But we separated everything up nicely, and hey boy, there we go. Hit save, and look at that. Let's refresh this. There we go. We have hey boy. All right, so that's why we do it here. Now, why do we do it down here and not up here like we do with our CSS? That's a common question that you might be asking, because usually what we do is we add all of these meta tags, or we link our fonts, we link our style sheet and everything up here. So why do we do the JavaScript down here? Well, you might have some instances where you have some HTML in here. So you might have a h1 hello. And the reason why we do down here is because with JavaScript, we can manipulate a lot of elements. So maybe I have a button here, like this, button, click. Right? And when I click this button using JavaScript, I can change the color of the h1 to red, for example. Okay, this is kind of something simple. Well, the problem is if I try to grab these elements in JavaScript, I'm not going to be able to if our script is up here, because the script is going to be loaded and it's going to look for those elements, but our HTML hasn't loaded up yet. So as a convention, what you do is you just put it down here at the end of the body, so our HTML all loads up, and then you can manipulate everything that you want on the page with JavaScript. Okay, so just link it down here and you are good to go.